What's going on, everybody? Mafta here. Just wanted to bring some new content to the channel and see how it goes, where I will be covering the Valorant Champions Tour matches, open and closed qualifiers from North America specifically, on the road to Berlin. In this series, I'm going to hope to cover some juicy matches and upsets that happened within North America, and also providing a little bit of insight into what's going on behind the scenes in terms of roster changes and moves that we can see coming between a bunch of teams. So if this is something that you would be interested in, make sure to leave a like and comment below as to what else you would like to see. First up, we have the return of Sentinels, returning from Iceland to the home of North America, that now officially includes TenZ on their roster after they bought him out from Cloud9, going up against a brand new EG roster that now includes Potter. Potter was more mainly known in the Valorant community as a commentator, analyst, and a content creator for EG previously, but now is on the official roster, which I believe, I'm not too sure, but I believe this is the first female integrated player among a lot of these T1 orgs. There is still, of course, Game Changers and people like Cloud9, TSM that do field a full female roster. I believe this is also one team overseas that has a female player on their main roster as well, but this is still big news and shows a bright future to come for the female gamers that could integrate into other T1 orgs and starting spots on the team. We did have Sentinels taking a clean 2-0 over this new EG roster, but it is the first time that we've actually kind of seen them on a stage like this, especially going up against someone like Sentinels, so the future could be bright for this team, and we'll see what comes right after. Right below them, we have a very familiar matchup with Sonics and Renegades. These two teams have faced off numerous times in other tournaments across North America. Sonics, of course, being the team that came over from Australia to participate in North America. They did pick up a clean 2-0 over Renegades, where they would then, right after, happen to run into Sentinels in the round of 16 for that spot in the closed qualifiers. They did take map 1 off of Sentinels on Icebox, but Sentinels kind of picked it up from there, and that made Sentinels the first team to qualify for this closed bracket. Just below then, we got to see how crazy this open qualifiers was really going to be when we saw NRG Esports take a 2-1 over FaZe Clan. FaZe Clan, with their new roster that now includes Baby J, did not produce the results I'm sure some people, and especially FaZe Clan fans, were probably hoping for. Moving to the next side of that, we did have XSET taking down NRG Esports right after with a 2-1 fashion, and they became the second team to earn that spot into the closed qualifiers playoffs. Moving right along, we had the first battle between two titans of a team when we got T1 versus Envy in the round of 16, with Envy taking down T1 in a 2-1 fashion. This was the first time now that we have seen this new T1 team, since they have reacquired Brax from TSM and also thrown in Dawn on the team. In the same fashion, this is also the first time that we have got to see Marved on the Envy team, as he recently left FaZe Clan, which in turn happened to pay off for Envy as they grabbed the third spot for that closed qualifiers and main event. Moving a little bit further down is where things started to get really crazy, as we saw Noble take a best of 3 series off of TSM 2-1. This was a TSM roster that now has gone through a couple changes, with Cutler being off the bench. They put in Brax, they took Brax back out, they since added Bang into the roster, who is a really young player. They also got a new coach. There wasn't a lot of time in between. They have done all of this and participated in this main event, so it was somewhat to be expected that they might have some bumpy roads here and there, but all that aside, I really don't think anybody saw this one coming. Everyone was kind of keeping their eyes towards that matchup against 100 Thieves, which we did not see come through, because we did see 100 Thieves take the best of 3 series off of Noble in a 2-1 fashion, which also gave us the reintroduction of Dicey's onto the roster when he played in the series versus Noble, and helped 100 Thieves grabbing the 4th spot going into the closed qualifiers main event. Moving to the bottom side of the bracket, which contained the return of version 1, This is the first time we have now seen them since their return from Iceland. We did have some spicy games from Luminosity, where they did take down Cloud9 White in a 2-0 fashion, as well as going up against the new Complexity roster, which they also dismantled 2-0. Unfortunately, they did meet version 1 in that last spot round of 16, where they were 2-0'd by version 1, so they got the next spot for the closed qualifiers main event. Just below that, we did get a matchup of GenG and Anbox, two teams who have seen a couple of roster changes. Anbox adding JC Stani, who came over from Immortals, and Vice, who came over from Cloud9, going up against the GenG roster that now includes Nature, who came over from Immortals. In this matchup, we did get to see the first competitive series on Breeze since it's been added to the rotation, and we did see GenG take the series over Anbox in a 2-1 fashion and take the next spot into the closed qualifiers main event. Going on right below that, we did have a pretty good series between Built by Gamers and Ryze, which are two, I guess you could say, somewhat new rosters. Built by Gamers has gone through a little bit of an overhaul since we last seen them, I believe. And this new roster of Ryze, which contains 3 players who used to play together on Dignitas, and Shanks, Superman, and Poised, with the addition of Neptune, who also has come over from Immortals. In this series, we did see Ryze take this series over BBG in a 2-1 fashion, going on to play Cloud9. This Cloud9 team has now seen the debut of Zeppa, who has now switched over from CSGO with his teammate Floppy, which probably did not pan out the way they originally had thought, as they did get upset, in my opinion, and 2-0'd by Ryze. Now, these are two very close teams in skill, I believe, but we did see Superman and Derek just have an absolutely crazy series and take this 2-0 fashion and take that spot moving forward into the closed qualifiers main event. Lastly, going to the bottom quarter of this bracket, we did have some craziness when Virtuoso ran into NRG Esports and took them down in a 2-0 fashion. NRG Esports, during their time off, did add WeDid, who came over from XSET. And as for everyone on this Virtuoso team, they are unsponsored. This is just kind of a solo queue-esque team. I'm sure they've scrimmed a lot together, though, looking to get that org sponsor. The only person on this roster that I personally know and have seen is Lin, who is pretty crazy. He's kind of a solo queue demon. But like I said, they did take that series 2-0 over NRG Esports, which caused a little bit of uproar and surprise within the community. And just below that, we did have Immortals running up against the Kansas City Pioneers, who actually upset this new Immortals roster in a 2-1 fashion. Now, this Immortals roster is very different, as they've lost 3 of their players, but do remain shot up in Gangsta onto the team. But it doesn't seem to have helped them any, as they fall short just a little bit here to the Kansas City Pioneers, which means for the last spot of that closed qualifiers playoffs, we got a matchup of Pioneers and Virtuoso. I don't think anybody saw this coming. If you did, congratulations to you. I truly hope you bet on that, because you would have made a lot of money. In the end, we did see in my opinion, a very super clean series from the Kansas City Pioneers when they took down Virtuoso in a 2-0 fashion, and it was pretty damn convincing. Anybody that's looking for like just a clean Valorant game, honestly, they took that thing like start to finish. Like, it was like close maybe in the second half, but I mean, when you're down that much, like you get ran so much in that first game and going into the second game, it was just astonishing to watch. So I really have this team as my dark horse right now going into the closed qualifiers. And here you have it, the first closed qualifiers main event for stage 3. We got some absolutely banger games coming up, guys. Like, this is going to be crazy, especially for the next Challengers 2. Challengers 2 is going to be stacked with so many great teams, and the fact that we're just kicking it off like this with version 1 against 100 Thieves in the first round is just so insane. This is going to be a great matchup. Right below them, we even have Envy against the Kansas City Pioneers, coming off of that absolutely nutty game against Virtuoso and the upset of Immortals. I believe that one could be one to watch out for that Pioneers could very easily create the upset. Now, if they go against version 100 Thieves, I don't know if they exactly pull that one off, because I think both of those teams are eventually going to be going to that upper final anyway. Right below them, though, we do get XSET versus Ryze. I do have Ryze taking it over XSET in this one, probably in a 2-1 fashion. I believe XSET could possibly pull off a game against this crazy Ryze squad. And just below them, we have Sentinels versus GenG, which should be a pretty good series, but Sentinels now solidifying themselves as pretty much the best roster in NA. I think they should probably take that one clean 2-0. If they go against Ryze, I think Ryze could probably take a match off of Sentinels, especially if they take Icebox. I think Sentinels kind of struggles every now and then on Icebox, so we'll see what happens there. But I do have, of course, more than likely Sentinels versus 100 Thieves in the upper finals. It should happen. We'll see what happens with version 1. Version 1 very well could create the upset against 100 Thieves. It wouldn't be unheard of. They did go through that crazy gauntlet run to even make it to Iceland, so I wouldn't be too surprised if that does happen. However, I do have the grand finals eventually, one way or another, being between 100 Thieves and Sentinels. I believe those are just the two best teams in NA right now. I think version 1 is really close. I think Envy is really close. I think this new Ryze squad could very well work their way up into a top 5 position in NA. We'll have to see how it plans out. And there are so many teams that we just didn't get to see get the matchups that maybe we expected. So Challengers 2, everything is going to be left on the table. We're going to be seeing teams give it their absolute all. And with all of that done and said, let's get into the spiciest things that have happened since this tournament ended. Pretty much straight to the point. The only one that really sticks out, or the one that I can even think off the top of my head, is what is happening over at TSM, which is, as of July 5th, Drone has been benched from the starting Valorant roster. This means the only people that remain from the original TSM roster is Wardell, Subrosa, and Hazed. They have, as I said earlier, now introduced Bang into the roster, who is essentially the new duelist main, as they put Subrosa more onto Smokes and Sky from time to time. I believe in the matches that I've seen, Bang was still playing a lot of those duelists as Ryze or Phoenix, which is kind of interesting to see where this team is going to go. Drone was mainly the Phoenix or Sova player for a while, and then he kind of switched over to pretty much just being the Sova player. And with the introduction of, Bang adding over there, they kind of just kept Subrosa on Smokes, but Bang can also play Omen, so I don't know what's going on over there. Everything over there right now is absolute craziness. But with the first juiciest info of Drone being benched, you have to think one of two things now happens. When the team first started, Wardell did play a lot of Sova. He could take that Shazam kind of esque play where he does still play Jet, but also on some maps, instead of opting for that double duelist, maybe he switches over to Sova. Is that likely? I'm not really too sure. I'm sure it's maybe a possibility that they have explored or tried. Maybe it doesn't really work out. Who knows what's going on over there. And the second thing that they can do is obviously just find in that new person and what that new person would be. A lot of people have been speculating of the players that they could add to that roster, and a lot of them are duelist players, which I don't really see TSM doing, and moving a player like Wardell off of that Jet just in turn for another player who can also op and play Jet. I don't see that in any fashion happening. So the real interesting thing is, who do they add that can fill that spot? The easiest thing that you can do is to grab a player that knows Sova and is a Sova main. With all of the roster changes that have been happening recently, a lot of those players are not up for grabs. However, there is one really good Sova main and Sova player who I think could really benefit from being on TSM, and TSM can also benefit from adding him onto the team, and that is Critical. Yes, I'm talking about the Critical that was accused of cheating from Ninja's Time-In squad, where they eventually got disqualified from the Knights tournament, which in turn, they said they did an investigation. It turns out he wasn't cheating, so they requalified them and put them in the spot of which Time-In won, and then they turned down the spot to play in because they didn't want to play in anymore. I don't know, a lot of craziness went on there. But either way, let's just be real. He wasn't cheating. There was nothing suspicious going on there, and this is more than likely going to be the player that we see as the new 5th and starting on this TSM roster. Let me know what everybody thinks and who you might want to see added to that 5th man onto the spot, and what could happen with other players. Drone, if he finds another spot on another team, maybe what team you believe he would make a great addition on. There's a lot of teams out there that could probably use a player like Drone, and even Cutler is still out there on the bench who can be a Sentinel player, or who knows what else for a team. There's a lot of craziness going on in North America right now. Everyone's trying to keep up and become that top dog. So we're going to have to see what happens with Challenges 2 when it rolls around, but I cannot wait for this weekend when this closed qualifiers main event starts up, and I even more cannot wait for Berlin to come around, because I believe this is going to be the most exciting Valorant that we have yet to see. Until then, please like, subscribe, leave your comments below, and tune in next time.